All right, so we'll just get started. For everyone that doesn't know, which they probably will know because they'll see the title, here with Jason Bittner, of the drummer of Shadows Fall and Flotsam and Jetsam. Did I say that correctly?
No, Flotsam and Jetsam.
Flotsam. All right. I'm actually just checked you out, that band at least today. Pretty good. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Megadeth.
Yeah, yep, I can understand that. Well, the band originated, way back in the early '80s. I mean, if you're familiar with Metallica, the guy who played bass in that band for quite a long time, this was his original band, Jason Newsted, the band he was in before he joined Metallica.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
And it's what you were on their 12th album. That's if I remember correctly.
I think it's number. I thought it was number 13.
13.
But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
That's all right. Anyone listening probably won't care anyway.
Let's just call it the latest album.
The latest albums. What did you do you feel like you did anything differently on this album? I mean, I guess because it's like I said, for 12 albums, and you've obviously put out a number with Shadows Fall. Do you feel like you did anything, or it was just typical Jason trying to play the same way you've always had?
No, because I still approach every single band a different way. There's still going to be elements of my style that are in there, and things that I do that make my playing me.
Mm-hmm.
But I still try to look at every band differently. Mm-hmm. So the first thing about Flotsam is maintaining the integrity of the history of the band, and the history that came before me. Mm-hmm. With Shadows Fall, and it wasn't like I wasn't allowed to do my own thing on this record, because I totally was. The guys in Flotsam were like, "Dude, just do we want you to do what you do, and we'll work around you." I'm like, all right, because that was very, very nice to hear that those kind of words, because it made me go, all right, well, maybe this isn't going to be too much or whatever. But it wasn't. The point for me was not to try to write a quote unquote drumtastic album or anything like that. It's got its really, really cool moments here and there, and I think that for the songs, I think that I did the best possible job I could do with it. I don't think I overplay on it. I actually questioned whether or not I wanted to put the blast beat into the song Taser or not, because there's never been a blast beat in any Flotsam material before. But they're like, no, it sounds cool, and I'm like, all right, cool. I just didn't want to do it and have it sound pretentious and just be like, oh, now they're trying to play blast beats or something. No, in the context of that song, in the way the song built and the energy of the drum part, it makes sense, because it builds the part to a climax. Mm-hmm. But I don't really think I didn't rewrite the drumming book or anything with this record. As I said, there's a lot of cool moments on it, and I'm extremely proud of my performance on this record as a whole, because there's something really cool in every single song. But there are a lot of moments on the records where there's things that I like, but they're not necessarily technically demanding issues, or like either like a fill or a drum little tom part or something. But they sound really, really good, and they fit the music perfectly. So once again, it doesn't have to be technically mind blowing in order to sound good. But there's a lot of those moments on the records, and there's just a lot of moments where I really feel the band just really came together as a whole. So that's a really good achievement to have when you're working with a new outfit. Now with Shadows Fall, I still had, with both bands, I have the room to create my own parts, usually without much confrontation from anyone in either band, which is actually really nice. But with Shads, it's a little bit more structured of songwriting set that we kind of adhere to. And there's a time and here's a nice little quote. There's a time and place for double bass, because there really is. You can't just put it in all over the place, because it either becomes redundant or it just becomes overplaying. But with Shadows Fall, I think if I look back on my catalog, I tend to have more songs that have longer passages of double bass, and maybe a little bit more faster than I do with the Flotsam material. I'd say it's both around the same tempo, but I'd say really Shadows Fall is more suited to between 180 to 208, 210 pushing it kind of range,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Flotsam is like, more so like 155 to like, 205 maybe pushing it. So it's almost the same kind of spectrum, but Flotsam's a little bit more melodic of a band as well. So once again, I have to, take that in consideration and play off Eric's vocals. So I don't want to just be going crazy with the drum parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours. Obviously, I listen to a lot of Shadows Fall. In my opinion, I would say you're probably one of the top metal drummers. And when I listen to this album, I can tell. I'm like, this is Jason Bittner. This is his playing. So I really don't feel that there was anything too drastic on that album. I feel like it was just your playing. It was your identity.
And that's great. And that's great to hear, because that's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's for someone, especially someone, if there's anybody, if there's someone who's out there that actually is a fan, or they're paying attention to my drumming, they like what I do. It's nice to have them go, yup, I can tell that's him on this record.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's those subtleties about a player's playing where you just know, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who it is. There are just those certain players and certain things that they do that you're like, I just know it's this guy. It's like John Bonham. I mean, it's like it's the way he hit the kick drum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's funny about him is he's got this. It's kind of like that behind the beat feel where it's not off tempo,
lazy swing.
But it's so crazy that when you play his stuff, man, I feel like I gotta like slug along but still stay in tempo. When you hear other people, I think Godsmack covered one of their songs. I'm like, the drumming is amazing. It's awesome, but it's nothing like when John Bonham plays it.
No one is like when. No one can replicate what John Bonham did. Jason's about us the closest,
Yeah, his son. I mean,
it's in his DNA. It's
exactly.
in his DNA,
Yeah, and then going back to the identity thing, that's what you need as a musician. I feel. I mean, you could go from playing metal to playing jazz, and obviously you're not going to have the same identity. You're going to have to play different fills and stuff like that.
True, but you know something? This is one thing I want to interject on that, because I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some drummers that seem to just pull it off because they're that fucking good, and that's really the way to describe it. And the perfect example is what I just saw 2 weeks ago with Steve Smith,
mm-hmm.
because he's just a consummate professional. He's constantly improving. He's constantly trying something new, and from stepping away from Journey and then going a different path with Vital Information and all that stuff he's done in the jazz world and with Indian music and everything over the last 20 or 30 years, and to step back into that role in Journey, I was curious to go see, all right, what's Steve going to sound like playing in Journey now, 30 years later? There's no question about the chops, because the chops are amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just his feel. You can totally tell. Like, he plays those songs, and you can totally tell he's the same guy that wrote those drum parts. But the way he plays those parts, his playing is so much more mature now.
Mm-hmm.
It's mature, and you can hear the Vital Information licks that he's been perfecting all these years, but now he's throwing it into the Journey stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like takes this, commercial rock off into this, totally, drastic, change. But it's just so amazing to see how someone who can evolve that well and play things like that are that technically challenging, but not throw the typical listener who's out there listening to the tune off.
Yeah. Now, do you go back to any of your older records and feel kind of compare it the same way? See how you matured and grew as a musician, or?
Yeah, sometimes. I do. I don't revisit them often sometimes, because I usually spend so much time learning them that once I learn them, I'm pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
As far as retaining the knowledge, and especially like stuff like, between the Art of Balance and the War Within years, we played those songs so much. It's like, it's like in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So I can step away from that stuff and usually just walk right back in and play those records back to back.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe some of the, lesser played stuff off Retribution, or maybe some of the newer stuff, maybe I'd have to just go in and just, listen to it a few times just to remember what my parts were.
Mm-hmm.
But generally 9 times out of 10, I'm still in, chop shape to pull those out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially with metal drumming, I feel like you kind of have to.
You have to. There's no way. There's no way you can stop playing this kind of music and just like 2 months later, let me just jump onto the kit and see if I can play 190 double bass. Like, no, it's not going to happen. It just doesn't. And as I get older, I see that more and more. So it's a good thing. I go to the gym and try to stay in shape and stuff, so it helps. But you still got to get out there and play. There's no substitution for playing, even just a few times a week, just to keep the rust off.
Yeah. Now, actually, I kind of wanted to ask you about that. I know from watching your DVD and some interviews on YouTube, you have some like tendinitis and repetitive motion injuries, correct?
Yeah, I did battle a lot of that years ago, but luckily, knock on wood, I haven't really had a lot of that stuff acting up as of late. There's some stuff here and there that just comes and goes depending on what I'm doing and stuff. Like my left shoulder was acting up while I was remodeling my house, but it was kind of understandable considering I was hammering every day. So, once you got that that stuff out of the equation 3 months later, the thing gets better. Thankfully, I wasn't touring during that time. But yeah, I've dealt with that stuff in the past, absolutely. But I usually go through a pretty good active regimen of, as I said, working out, yoga, stretching, acupuncture, chiropractor in the gym, and massage to keep those problems at bay.
So now you do all that stuff just to play metal music.
Yeah. I do it to play metal and also to stay as active as I like to be. I mean, as I said, I like to go to the gym, 2 or 3 times a week. But I also like to play drums 5 or 6 times a week. And what I do is aggressive drumming. It's not like I'm back there just, playing a top 40 song, not breaking a sweat. No disrespect to that. But what I'm saying from an energy standpoint, when you're playing 90 minutes of music that ranges between 160 and 180, that's a hell of a heart rate for 90 minutes for a 46-year-old man.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining about it, but that's what it is. As I get older, I think about that stuff.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize, especially for me, playing in local bands and stuff like that, it's almost like they expect you to just get on, we got practice, all right, start playing. And a lot of them don't realize that, listen, you're not just playing easy songs like you said. I'm playing metal. I gotta warm up for 15 minutes.
Well, it's just like being a relief pitcher. It's like if you're a relief pitcher on the bench and your manager comes over and goes, "All right, get in there now. Just get this guy out." Wait, what? I didn't even get a chance to throw the ball yet. So it's like the same thing. It's like, all right, jump on the kit and play your fastest song first. What? Fuck you! My arms are gonna fall off.
Exactly. I'm gonna pull a bicep.
Yeah, just give me 15 minutes to stretch and just get on the pad. Let me wake my body up and at least let it know it's about to get 110% assaulted for 3 minutes.
Now, do you do anything besides going to the gym? You do any like biking, or do you have any nutritional supplement regimens that you do to stay healthy, or?
Yeah, I do. I use a supplement company called Isogenics.
I've heard of them.
Yeah,
before.
it's a really good natural supplement. So I really like their protein powders and their greens powders and stuff. So I use a lot of their stuff to supplement my meals. I'm not sitting here preaching the picture of health. I mean, I'm in pretty good condition for my age. If I could get away from the ice cream a little bit, I'd probably be in a little bit better shape. But unfortunately, my wife brings these things home for dessert. She's skinny as a rail, and I'm like, you have to stop doing this. Anyways, I'm digressing a little bit. But my point is that I'm not sitting here preaching about it, but I haven't had a drink since 2012.
Now, is that to be healthy, or just for?
Well, it was when I got sick with pancreatitis, and the doctor told me that they didn't really know exactly how it had happened, but excessive alcohol is what exacerbates that condition. And on top of it, I also have a 90% formed pancreas. I guess my pancreas is like 10% not fully formed,
wow.
Which I never knew about until there was an MRI and all this stuff done on my pancreas when I was in the hospital. So once this happened, the doctor said, well, if you never want this to come back again, you should probably quit drinking. And I said, well, this is probably the worst pain I've ever been in my entire life, aside from childbirth, and I don't think I can have kids. So I'm going to quit drinking because this really sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, I haven't had a drink now in 4 years. So that has helped tremendously with conditioning. Not that like it ever had an adverse effect, really, like touring, but now being sober, not drinking for 4 years and being on tour, I sit here going, oh my God, I feel like a million times better than I used to feel.
Why did I ever drink?
Exactly. Or like, why do we drink so much on the road? Like, I mean, Jesus, it's like, my God, I used to play it like feeling like shit, and I could have avoided that. Fortunately, I was still lucky enough to always really play very consistently, and I never let being hungover affect my playing. Maybe one time on the Headbangers Ball Tour, there was one show that I really was just dreading so bad. I'm like, I really would do anything right now to not have to play this show. But
you sweat it out?
Yeah, I did. And sadly, when I was done, the hangover was gone, and I almost had a beer, but I didn't. So, but my point being is, I never let it get to a point where it would ruin the next day. But when you don't have that in your life anymore, and then you're on the road, it just makes being on the road so much easier. It's so hard as it is, debilitating on your body.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're not putting that poison in there, it just makes you feel so much better. So I did that, so I stopped drinking, and combined with cutting down my red meat intake and changing all the meat that I would have, like meat, chicken, and fish, to having all of it, as much of it as organic as possible, changing to all organic fruits and vegetables, and really just trying to be more cognizant about that. Mm-hmm. So that's where I am at 2016 at 46 years old. So.
Well, it's got to be doing.
I'm still hanging in there doing what I did at 18, and I still can't believe that I'm still doing this, because I thought when I was that young and naive, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be playing thrash like when I'm like 35. I'm like, I'll be old by then. I wasn't even making a name for myself until I was 35 playing thrash.
It's crazy, right?
It's ridiculously crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I think the thing that just keeps me in the game, aside from when I feel like I'm falling apart, is the fact that it still helps to keep me young. What I do.
Yeah.
So.
Now, did you find this stuff out, like the information for the organic stuff and the supplements and what have you? Did you find that on your own, or do you have like a nutritionist or something?
Yeah,
like that?
No, it was pretty much when I was homesick, because I had to miss the Shadows Fall tour because doctor's orders was you're not doing anything. You need to have bed rest and liquid
Sleep.
diet for 2 weeks, basically. Yeah. So there was no chance of me going on the road. I actually made the last 3 shows of the tour, but still, I had 4.5 weeks to sit here and play WebMD. So that's exactly what I did. Pancreatitis, and sat there, all day, researching this, researching that. Of course, freaking out about, oh my God, what if it's that though? And all that.
Yeah, because it gives you like 50 conditions it could be.
Or it could be this, or it could be this, or maybe
you might be dying. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
Which one is it?
So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of just personal research, and then trial and error.
So I actually want to take it back to the beginning, because I'm kind of just interested in the process of the Berkeley situation. Now, you only went there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. We've had this discussion on another podcast. I mean, not all of the musicians that go there only stay there for a year, but it's just funny that it seems like a lot of them, the popular ones, John Mayer, Adam D. It seems like for some reason it's like 1 year and you're done. And
Adam D didn't go for a year. Adam D graduated.
Oh, really? Now which now Dream
Adam
Theater
D graduated.
Dream Theater, they were the ones that left early.
Yeah, Mike went for a year. Todd Zuckerman from Styx went for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I went for a year. A couple of the guys in the Bosstones that I went to school with, I think they might have graduated. That's the thing, but that was the thing about Berkeley. It's one of two sides there. It's either you don't graduate or you do graduate. And they had a very low graduating class because a lot of people would just go there and hook up with people and go out and play.
Mm-hmm.
Or do whatever, or they drop out for whatever reason, or they can't afford it or whatnot. For me, what happened with me is I went there I was so psyched to get there, and the first semester I was there, I was like, wow, it's Berkeley, and it's 365 days a year, and it's music 24/7. This is awesome.
Mm.
And all the time. Little did I know I'm actually in the sheds rehearsing for the band I'm going to be in one day. Because I'm in there playing along the first two Flotsam and Jetsam albums and Slayer albums and Anthrax records. And ironically, Anthrax, another band I'd play in. So little did I know I'm planting the seeds at Berkeley to do all this stuff that I'm going to do 20-some-odd years later.
And not even knowing it.
So the first semester I'm there, and it was awesome. The second semester I was there, by the time I got to the end of the second semester, I was like, oh, it's Berkeley and it's music every goddamn day, all day, and I'm burnt. And it wasn't even like I was, it wasn't like I was doing bad or something I wanted to get out. I literally just came across some of my transcript the other day, like I was cleaning out some file or something. We just had a renovation this past year. And I had like an A-, B+ average for two semesters. So I was doing fine. I was just burnt already. And what also didn't help matters was I met dudes and we started playing and we formed a band and we decided that we were all going to leave Berkeley the next year and move and get this band started and take over the world like Dream Theater did, except ours imploded by the next summer and then I was back home in Schenectady a year later. So, sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
So now how did you connect with Shadows Fall? Was outside of Berkeley?
Yeah, well, Shadows Fall was many, many years later. I mean, that was 1990 when I was back home. Shads didn't happen for another 11 years.
Damn.
I was, playing in the local scene for years, mostly with my own metal bands and primarily with a hardcore band called Stigmata. And we had played a bunch of shows on over the East Coast over the number of years, and basically all the guys that played in Shadows Fall and other bands, different bands before Shadows Fall was a band, played shows with Stigmata. So we kind of all knew each other over the course of 10 or so years, playing shows in various other bands up and down the Eastern Seaboard. So when Stigmata finally came to an end in 2001, it was just around when Shadows Fall happened to be looking for a drummer. So they just called, and at first I said no, I wasn't interested because I had just gone through, losing my mother to cancer, and, I was just in no place to, she just went back there. I was in no place to be thinking about joining a band. And about maybe like 2 months later, they hit me up again. They're like, we still haven't found anybody. Can you, give it another thought and maybe just come down and jam? And what's the worst that could happen? So I was like, yeah, all right. So I learned the first 5 songs off Love One Blood, went down there. I think it was like a week after Thanksgiving, 2001. And then the next thing you know, we're on a plane to Europe in 2002.
Wow, that's amazing.
And initially I just said I was just going to help them out. Had a good job and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if this is really what I want to do anymore. So, and they hadn't been to Europe yet. And I had gone to Europe with, 2 other bands prior. So I knew that they would want to experience that at least once. So I'm like, well, let me see if I can get the time off from work and I'll do I can do that tour with you. And I got the time off work and I said I'd do the tour, and then that's all I said. I said, I'm not going to commit to any more than that. And they were fine with that. And then like before we even got on the plane to leave for Europe, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll be in the band. It's like we had 1 beer at the bar next to our manager's place, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you couldn't even wait to leave before you just committed to do this all over again.
It's funny how those decisions just come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, what the heck? You don't even think about it, and it just comes out.
Yeah. Yep.
But if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have no. Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would just think if we didn't have any Shadows Fall with Jason Bittner, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. But it's like, and I always think about that too, because you brought up the Berkeley thing, right? So I left in didn't go back. And that's like one of those things that like not haunts me, but like I do think about it a lot, and I'm like, I never finished. But I was like, then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, well, not for nothing. I don't think my parents even had enough money for me to even get to through the second year anyway. So there's a good chance you might only made it 2 years before you'd have to leave. But it's just, it goes down to the final thought of, even if I had stayed and graduated, there's no guarantee that I'd still be sitting here today with the same story and playing for the same band that I played for. There's no guarantee at all, because my life could have took a totally different turn. I could be a Berkeley graduate with no job.
Or teaching at some local high school or something like that.
Exactly.
I mean, then again, it's funny. We actually have a mutual friend. I took lessons with Joe Bergamini for probably about a year or two. But hey, you could be him. I mean, he's doing pretty well as an instructor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Joe does well for himself. Yep. Joe's got a good thing going with everything he's got going. So.
I mean, and he also deserves it too. He's a great guy.
Yes,
very nice and down to earth.
Absolutely, he is. Yep.
But anyway, back to the Berkeley thing. Did you have any jazz or like a funk background before you went there?
Not really. Only just like playing in stage band and stuff, like the jazz band in high school and middle school. That was like my beginnings of that. And I was studying with a jazz teacher my senior year of high school, so that was trying to get me a little bit more ahead of the game for what I was about to embark on. Going to Berkeley, being the metalhead who loved listening to Rush.
Was there you find that there was like a very few metal musicians at Berkeley? I would assume, right?
There was a handful of us, and there was definitely a select handful of us, and actually a good slew of us on the same floor went on to bigger and better things. Me and my friend Brian Tishy, who was right down the hall from me, who's a other very well-known drummer, Whitesnake, Billy Idol, Foreigner, does the Bonzo Bash every year. Joe Travers, who played drums in Zappa, played Zappa, which was Dweezil Zappa's band. He's the curator of the Zappa archives. He was on our floor as well. John DeServio plays bass in Black Label Society.
Great band.
He was there with us. So there was definitely a handful of us there. Bobby Coble, who played guitar in Death in the 90s, he was there with us too. Actually, we used to be in a band together.
Now, do you keep in contact with a lot of these people that went there? Or?
Some people, like what's usually happened is I've come back in contact with people over the years. I see them on tour or at NAMM or something, and then it's usually something like that where it's a reconnection somehow.
Now, I actually wanted to get into the clinics and stuff like that. How did that come about? It's littered all over YouTube. You got videos of Guitar Center, Modern Drummer. You've even been featured in there. How would you what was for that?
Most of that stuff is done on my own accord. It's by by 15, 20 years of hard work and pestering people to do clinics. Once you start making a name for yourself in the drum industry, if you're lucky and you want to be in that realm, see me, I always wanted to be involved in the education on the clinician side of it. I loved going to clinics when I was a kid, and that was always something that I was like, if I ever can become a famous drummer, quote unquote, whatever the terminology you want to use, if I ever get to that level, I want to try to be able to do clinics. So around, let's say 2004, like right on the War Within era, I started getting asked by Tom and by Meinl if I'd be interested in doing clinics, and I said absolutely. So turns out that I got word that the Modern Drummer Festival wanted me to play on their festival in 2005. Actually, Chris Adler and I both got word of that the same day because we were on tour together at the same time with Slipknot at that time. So after we both, got done proverbially going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, that's what sparked being able to go ahead and do the clinic route for me, because that was what was going to establish me as an artist outside the band.
Mm-hmm.
So I booked a local one. I actually asked Steve, going back to Steve Smith, I actually asked Steve Smith for a bit of advice because Vital Information was playing in town. And this was before I actually really knew him. This was before I was really friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
This was just like when I was like an up-and-coming drummer, and I haven't really been, I introduced myself, but he hadn't been introduced to me yet, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, Mr. Smith, I'm about to do my first clinic ever at I gave him the spiel first. I'm Jason Bittner. I play drums in Shadows Fall, blah blah. Voted yada 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 #1 up and coming drummer on the Readers poll. I know he reads the magazine, so I figured maybe my name might spark some like, okay, kid, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of comment. So I was like, do you have any advice for someone doing a clinic, their first clinic as it being the Modern Drummer Festival being the first clinic? And he goes, yeah, try to do one beforehand.
Do one somewhere.
Greatest piece of advice I ever got, though. So I basically booked a clinic with my local store that I used to work at when I was a kid and that I teach out of periodically over the years. So we did a clinic in January 2005, and then I went on and did the Modern Drummer Fest in May of 2005. And then that really just sparked everything. Then I went overseas and did a few clinic tours over there for Meinl. And, various drum fests all over the world. Drummer Live Fest in the UK with Nickel McBrain after Ozfest 2005. The Adams Drum Fest in Holland. The PMT Fest throughout the United Kingdom in 2006, which was a 5-day tour. Australia, I've done the Australian Ultimate Drummers Weekend 2011. Or Ultimate Drummers Week, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been lucky enough to do a lot of clinics around the globe as well as play.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm going back to Holland next week, or actually in 2 weeks. We have a few festivals and shows in Europe, and we're playing in the Hague in Holland one day, and I have a clinic and 2 master classes the same day of our show. It's part of Dutch Drum Magazine's 3-day drum festival going on over there, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it's called Drumfest Opole in Poland, which is it's about an hour. It's a smaller city outside of about an hour outside of Warsaw, and that's at the end of October. But everything, like most of all the clinic tours and all the stuff I've done in the States, have been either stuff that's been lined up through one of my endorsers, because I'm a clinician on their roster, like the Zildjian stuff. When I went to Zildjian, part of the deal was they put me out on a clinic tour in the States and overseas. And then anything else, like a lot of the Guitar Center ones and stuff, are just ones that I just book on my own. Once I was off, I would get a hold of whoever was in charge of the events at Guitar Center Corporate, and offer myself up for clinics and available stores, and then they basically would just host a clinic, and I just have to get the endorsers to kick in for the support in order for me to do it.
Yeah.
But sadly, those days are getting thinner and thinner as the internet kills the music sales, and people aren't going out and buying gear the way they used to, and everything else. And now there's no reason for someone to go out to go to a clinic, because they can just pull up this guy on YouTube under, 5 different camera shoot, and he's in a studio, and you learn all the parts right over the internet. So why leave the house? I don't know, because you can physically see him in person,
and it's a lot better.
You can actually see him right in front of you, not on the computer screen. And you know what? He might actually make a mistake, and then you'll actually know he's human.
Yeah, that's funny. Nowadays it seems like that's what you got to do. You just got to sit at home, behind a computer, behind a camera, and you can make a living that way, which is it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks about it too, for the clinic aspect of it too, is just the hang. The clinic itself is just a reason for other drummers to get together and hang out.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Do you have a second DVD in the works?
No.
Mm.
That's really at this point. At this point, Hudson's really not putting out DVDs anymore because they're just not financially profitable for them. They're just not. Nobody's doing it anymore because of YouTube and stuff. The thing now is the apps, the Drum Guru app and Lesson
Drumeo?
Packs.
Is it one of those?
Drum Guru is the Hudson Music app. Drumeo is a separate thing. Drumeo is Jared and Dave's online teaching thing in Canada, which is a great resource as well. I'm on Drumeo as well.
Mm-hmm. And so now you do lessons via Skype, right? And Hangout and FaceTime.
Yep. Well, it's via Skype. It's not by FaceTime.
No.
Yeah, because I have everything hooked up in my studio. So if I was using FaceTime, you wouldn't actually be able to hear the audio, the actual clear drum audio. You'd hear
the whole time, like cell phone camera audio.
Exactly. So I use Skype so I can have a full audio interface for the student.
Now, do you have a lot of connection issues with like other users, or like how's the sound from them?
I don't, because as far as my end goes, I have a portable hotspot Wi-Fi that I use primarily for the studio alone. So there's no other signal that's going on it aside from my computer and the printer for the lesson. So if there's any technical issues, it's usually on their end.
Yeah.
Unless we're getting like a bad snow day or a rain day, the weather affects it too.
Exactly.
But the chances of that happening are pretty slim. It happens rarely. I've had people now from 4 different countries, as far away as Colombia and Mexico. And I've had no even there, like even with the guy I see him in Colombia, there's no problems even with his signal. So it's been good so far.
Now you can actually hear it's just crazy how that works. You can hear their audio pretty well, or is it mostly like?
It depends on how the student has their end set up, and it depends how they want to do their lesson. I have all different kinds of students. Some do verbal lessons. Some just like to sit there and talk to me, and they literally will just sit there and we'll
pick
talk.
Your brain.
We'll sit there and I'll talk ideas. They'll write it down. I have some that have electric drums, so they're at the electric drum kit. I have some that do it on a practice pad, so they're on a practice pad. I have some that have their kit fully mic'd up and they're talking on a headset mic, like full deal, just like I am. It doesn't matter. The point is, as long as I can hear you talk, as long as we can talk back and forth, and as long as I can see your hands and feet doing the motion, even if I hear terrible audio, as long as I see the things that are supposed to get hit where they're supposed to get hit, I can at least tell. Like if we're doing something dynamically, obviously then I need a little bit better of an audio.
Yeah.
But I've never I've never got to that, had to deal with that kind of issue yet. So
that's great.
Yep.
Do you have a lot of metal instructors, or people you teach lessons to, or is it many different styles like jazz and funk and all that stuff?
It's a lot of it is random styles and different styles. There are some people who come to me strictly to work on double bass or something, but and I get beginner students and stuff, but I usually get a good mixture where it's not just like, all right, let's learn how to play a Metallica song. I'm not knocking that, or it's not, all right, well let's learn how to play sing right now. We're gonna learn your first jazz beat. It's a little of everything. It's kind of nice. Fortunately, it's like I don't seem to have a lot of intermediate students. I have like a lot of beginners or a lot of players.
Yeah.
So it's either I can't give them the hard stuff yet, or I have the ones that are like every week it's a challenge for me. It's like, ooh, all right, what am I going to show them this week? Because I'm running out of things.
He's starting to play better than me.
Exactly. He might not be playing better than me, but he knows everything I can teach him. So it's only a matter of time before they're better than me.
You get a lot of people that want to, like, teach me how to play one of your songs. I'm a huge fan, or I'd love to know how to play Redemption. You get any of that?
Every once in a while that happens, and I always tell them the same thing. If that's really how you want to spend your money by me giving you a private concert, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with that because that's real easy for me to do.
To teach, yeah.
There's no thought in that at all. I just put the CD on and go, okay, this is how you want me to spend your parents' money? All right. So cool. Because this is just made it, this is just this is an hour of cardio now for me.
I'm getting my workout.
Right. So, but I usually go, if that's really how you want to spend your money, that's fine. But I would suggest, like, is it something specific you want me to do? Like that you want to see that I can show you like a specific part? Because why don't we just take time and doing that? And then maybe I can show you the mechanics of why you need to be able to play this technique in order to play this part. Instead of just like, all right, here's the verse beat, which you can figure out on your own. But if I know you can't, if there's something in the song that I know you can't technically play, then I try to, avert that without going, I don't think really, that's a good idea yet.
It's crazy, like we were saying, the power of the internet. I mean, if there's a fan out there that, wants to connect with their favorite drummer, be it you, and they want to learn your songs, it's just crazy that they can connect with you nowadays. Just over the internet from, 5 different countries or multiple countries.
Oh, it absolutely is. Because if you told me, when I was 18, if I could have just, been able, I mean, I can now, but if if 18, I could have just called Charlie Benante up and been like, hey, let's do a drum lesson,
Yeah.
That would have been great, but that is a really good thing. And it's a really, really cool thing for the fans. And I've been able to actually interact with some really, really cool people around the world by doing this. So that is a really cool thing. But it would be nice sometimes to just have, an in-person lesson here and there too. But it's good to at least have teachers, be involved because, you can learn on your own only so much, because if you're trying to do something and you're playing with improper technique or something, you really need someone to kind of, just give you that, not that kick in the ass, but that, that slap upside the head, wait a minute, hold your sticks like this, now you got it,
Yeah.
rather than, trying to go 5 steps forward, with bad technique or something to have to come 4 steps back to relearn. Because I've been there. Yeah. So I try to make my students not do the bad things that I did when I was younger.
Yeah, because you'll end up with tinnitus and all that those horrible injuries, or just would have bad technique and not able to play the things that you might be able to play with better technique.
Yep.
But all right, so it looks like we've gotten to most of the questions I wanted to ask tonight. Last thing about Shadows Fall, the hiatus. You guys thinking about having a reunion tour anytime soon, or what's the deal with that? If you don't mind me asking.
We don't really know what's going on right now. Everybody's on different schedules. John's really going to be busy with Anthrax for pretty much the rest of the year, we're pretty sure. And Brian just had another kid, so
that puts a damper on things.
He's pretty busy himself. And Matt and I may be on the road together this fall. We're still seeing what's up, but there's a chance that our respective bands right now might even be touring with each other. So that would, also inhibit a Shadows Fall tour. But we're always talking to each other, and there hasn't been any talk about when we're going to do something, but there hasn't been any talk of we're never going to do anything again. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
I mean that's positive enough.
I think it's one of those things is when the time is right and when everybody's available. And right now, everybody's just not available.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, totally understand. So we're just going to do some plugs. We can find you at jasonbittner.com. You have a new website coming?
Yeah, it's under construction right now, but you can still reach me there. And jblessons@aol.com is the lesson email too.
Yep, and you're on Twitter, jbittner drums. And Instagram at Jason Bittner.
Yep.
Now, what about Facebook? Because the only thing I saw was the fan page. Do you?
Well,
it's like your personal one. Obviously.
Yeah, my personal one is packed. I guess they can still follow it or whatever. But then there is the fan page.